Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hey, hey. Go ahead and check your microphone.
Check 1 2.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
It works. All right, great.
Yeah. It's not the way that I usually do it, but it's working. All right. All right. So here we go. I'm going to do the intro and then I'll bring you on. Hey, everybody. Welcome to mattnews.biz, the podcast where I interview guests and talk about contrary opinions in the effort to learn new things in an attempt to articulate my point of view, which has lovingly been dubbed Matt News. This episode is brought to you unofficially by Restream. Restream is the best way to live stream to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and 30 plus streaming sites all at once. You can expand your audience today with multi-streaming at restream.io. Please feel free to interact with me and my guests tonight during tonight's live stream, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or even Twitch. You can comment in the chat section, and we will see it, and we'll reserve a time at the end to respond. Now, tonight, I may be converted to Catholicism by my guest as we discuss Nancy Pelosi's comments about the Capitol building. I want to welcome David Barras to the show. Welcome,
Devin.
David.
Devin.
Devin. Why did I say David?
I don't know.
I even have Devin in the little thingy. I don't know why I said David.
Oh no, it's fine. So.
Oh man, see, I got your right. I got your last name right.
Yes, but yeah. So, but thank you for having me on your show, and
yeah,
so
absolutely, man. I know we talk back and forth on Facebook quite a bit, and so I always enjoy having people that I know on. Not to be in an echo chamber or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, but in a way that we can challenge some of like the things that we think, and so because we might agree on this thing, but might not agree on this thing. So
right.
And so
yeah, definitely. Well, especially because I'm a Protestant and you're a Catholic.
Sure. Oh yeah. So
but
yeah, I mean those get really, really fun. So
well, we're not going to get into all that because I'm actually probably a Protestant who's very accepting of Catholicism and Catholics in general.
Right.
I know a few, and I don't see too many differences.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there are some really key ones, but I would just say that but as long as you can actually talk about these things and not get all worked up over it, and so because the whole goal is to find truth. So
right.
And
yeah, absolutely. So talking about your Catholicism,
yeah.
you were telling me that you're going to be confirmed when?
In May.
In May. So you didn't recently come to Catholicism?
Well, okay, so I was born into it, and I had went to school and everything, and but then when I was a teen, my dad got saved, and we started to go to a church that he wanted to go to, and so I was just trying to be a really good son at the time, and so I just went with him. It was like a Pentecostal, church and stuff. So I was there for like 4 to 5 years or so, and then and I had some really good times over there. So I don't I don't have any hate. I know some really great people. But then when I started going to college, and and then I was kind of more on my own. I started reading into certain things, asking things that I've always wanted to ask, but was kind of just like, I don't know if I should ask that or not.
Yeah.
So I just started reading all these different works and stuff. I started doing I probably read up on faith and all for over like 3 to 4 years. And so, but I would always, recall some of the things that I was taught in school as a Catholic, you know, school and all, and so some of those things kind of just stuck with me over time, and so in a way, I would say that I left the church, but the church didn't leave me,
Hmm.
and and so slowly over time, it felt like I was just being tugged a little bit more back,
Yeah.
and then so but but being around my dad and others, they started to get into a whole bunch of anti Catholic works and stuff like that. So being fed that all those years, but then also having this little tug, like I felt torn,
Yeah.
and I didn't know where to go, and so I just I had prayed about it and just wanted to know, like, y- y- like, God, lead me to your true church. Like, don't put it on me. I'm just gonna put it on you.
Hmm.
And then so over time, I started to feel that calling of, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Hmm.
And so I was reading into the fathers of the church and everything. I was like, man, these guys sound Catholic as hell, and I was just like talking about the real presence of Christ in the bread and the wine and everything, and 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 how, like, Peter and Paul founded the church in Rome, and then how all of, like, of the churches listen to the church in Rome.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I thought, like, all this stuff was wrong,
Right.
and so, but I was just reading more and more into it. I'm just like, this sounds nothing like I was taught at the Pentecostal church and everything, and I realized that there was something a lot more to it,
Right.
and so yeah, so I mean, it took a really long time, and and things too is, like, if you ask anyone who is a Catholic now, I mean, there's always some teaching out there that they have a really hard time with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a completely normal thing. But the thing is that that shows our own, you know, limitations, and so yeah. I mean, so to me at that point, it was just plain as day.
Right.
And so, and we can go more and more into that, but I know that we were going to talk about other things too, so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to let the audience know a little bit more about you and anything
Oh
like that.
yeah, sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, and I've been talking to a friend of ours, and I won't say who live, but she would ask me, like, what do y'all think about this or that, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, well, let me show you and all, and
Yeah.
so
It
yeah.
probably surprises you too that I quote a lot of Rene Girard, and Rene Girard
Who
being
was a
Catholic.
Catholic?
Yeah, he's a
Yep.
Catholic,
Yeah.
and a lot of the
Hmm.
Catholics use his teachings and
Oh
talk
yeah.
about him a lot. Um,
Yeah, yeah. There's a strong philosophical strain in the Catholic Church. So like, the fathers of the church were very much into Plato,
mhm.
and Platonic thought. Like, when John in John 1, calls Christ the logos. That's straight out of Plato.
Hmm.
So um so but then in the medieval times, it was more of a Aristotle kind of bent
Hmm.
to the faith. So yeah, so so I mean, so and also, I mean, it was the monks who had saved all of the Greek texts and
Hmm.
everything of the ancient pagan texts. And
Hmm.
so I mean, so they even thought it was worth keeping. Um so I mean, there's always been that strain of 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 this of this thought of you using our reason to um to find God, and to tell others who God is. And so
Yeah.
yeah. mm,
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like we're starting to get even with the reform movement and everything like that.
sure.
That's the
hmm
kind of this, what is it, like neo reform? I guess you would kind of call it, like this kind of
yeah,
new
yeah,
wave of reform. It's kind of that going that route too. Is like, hey, we
yeah,
can reason and talk about God in a reasonable fashion.
yeah,
We don't just have to over spiritualize. I was actually listening to a really cool podcast today. I don't know
yeah.
if you're a fan of Bible podcast or Bible Project podcast.
uh i've I've seen, is that the Timothy
Yeah, Tim Mackey.
Mackey or whatever? Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. I've seen a couple of links that you had shared,
Yeah.
but his show, I have not seen. So
Yeah, there was a quote that I put out on my Facebook page and
yeah.
on my Instagram page as well. And like I think it just kind of, when I heard them say it,
Yeah.
I was like, man, um this explains, because we think that like denominations, splitting up in denominations, this is division, and it's unbiblical, it's
hmm
unchrist-like, and things like that. But just the way that
hmm
they were talking about today, this interview with this Dr. Esau Macaulay, I think is how you pronounce his name, and he says, I don't think people take seriously how much they are part of a Bible reading community. Every community has its own strengths, its own weaknesses, and its own blind spots. And then he
Sure.
starts talking about his own, and he says that maybe through mutual dialogue we become better readers of the Bible altogether. And I think that's
Yeah.
the reasoning part. It's like I
Yeah.
view the Bible differently than a Catholic person would view the Bible. Um,
Sure. Yeah. hmm
Pentecostals read it completely differently than a lot of other
Right. Right.
denominations.
Right.
But it's
And
not that they're necessarily
right. And
wrong or right,
mhm.
but this they have a different perspective, and we can all come together and look at those different
Yeah.
perspectives.
Well, and the thing is too, like in the Catholic faith, like there's a sense of depth to the scriptures. Like you you can read two and three things into the same verse, and
Yeah,
they're all true,
yeah,
right? So like there could be a literal meaning of it. Like a really good take is like the flood, right?
hmm,
So thing is that Catholics do teach that, like no Noah's flood really did take place, and
hmm,
and he really did build this ark. But uh but if you read, I think it's in First Peter, the author there says that it's also a symbol as well.
hmm,
And then Catholics teach this is just one of the many things that they teach in regard to this, but that the ark is symbolic church. And so have you noticed that all of the Catholic churches are built like naves
No,
on the
I've never
side?
noticed that. No.
It's shaped like like a arc.
Hmm.
And so, but the symbology is that the flood is this like, or these like waves of sin and evil, and the church is rocking, through it with its people in there.
Hmm.
So, and it's, yeah, so, but yeah, but next time, like, you see like a gothic, like, church or anything like that,
Yeah.
look, like on the sides, they have like naves on the side, and it's shaped like a boat almost.
Wow.
So, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I've
so
never noticed that. There's a few Catholic churches around here, so definitely next time I'll
yeah,
pass by, I'll check it out. Next time I go get a
yeah,
pizza, because there's like one right across from our Papa John's.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah. All right,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
You were gonna say something. I cut you off.
Oh yeah, well. So, but I was just like gonna say, like, even the buildings themselves are meant to teach as well. So, um,
Yeah, I actually watched I can't remember who it was on YouTube, but he went and he's a Protestant guy, but he goes and he talks to different, different Christian faiths and everything like that.
oh, is that the a 10 minute
Yeah, 10-minute Bible
Bible
hour
hour?
guy. Yeah,
I love that guy. Yeah,
yeah, he's
yeah,
great. And
yeah.
he went to the Catholic Church and they were talking about how at the altar that's the heart of the cross. I think in some
Uh,
Catholic, I don't know if it's all
mm,
Catholic churches, but
mm,
in the Catholic church he was visiting, it's in the
yeah.
shape of a cross.
Right. Yeah. So, like, it'll be like this, and it splits out like that,
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah, and so it's cool that they use those methods to teach
yeah.
theology and teach
hmm
their doctrines and stuff like that.
Right. And the things that you would have to think too is, like, I mean, in this, kind of thinking dates back to the, early days of church. The, average person couldn't like read, right? So,
Right.
so they use all these different modes of, art to teach. So, and and that still, goes on to this day. So,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about
Nancy
Nancy
Pelosi.
Pelosi. Uh, so Devin, you're a libertarian, like I'm a libertarian. And that's actually how
Yes,
we
sir.
met. We met
Yes,
through
sir.
the Make Liberty Great Again group, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which now I don't even know what we're supposed to be called now. They changed the name of their podcast now
Yeah.
and everything, and so
Yeah.
and then Facebook kicked them all or kicked us off.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's how we met. So we're both libertarians.
Mm-hmm.
We both aren't very. I don't know. I feel like out of me and you, probably look a little bit more positively toward the government, but we still have that like there's a bad taste in our mouth toward government. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so how did you become a libertarian?
Okay. So my story is not a it's not some like crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I started getting into politics, because my dad would always watch the news. I'm just like, okay, I'll just sit and watch,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, oh, hey, Dad, what does this mean and that mean? And then he'll start, tell me what it means. And then, next thing I'm like, when's that a show coming on? So, and, and so, I grew up in a conservative, household. And so, so they would watch Fox all the time and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And but you know and then so like I just started to become one as well because that's just what my parents thought,
Yeah.
so. And but then um in 2012 I was on YouTube, and I came across a guy named Ron Paul. And
It always starts with
and
Ron, man.
Paul, yeah. And like I said, this is a very like common story. So
Hmm.
it's a very common one. And I saw Ron Paul, and I don't remember what he said, but it just made sense. Like he
Hmm.
explained it in a way that took all of like of the the shades like off my eyes, and it just all fell off. And I just thought, this is all rigged, man. Like, and and
So you had
and
Damascus Road experience.
yeah, like, and I was just like, and then so I just started, looking at more stuff he said, and then like he'll like mention some book, and then I'll go buy that book after,
Yeah.
and then so I just started to do like this little like this deep dive in, and I was just like, I am not who I thought I was,
Mm.
like, and I've had like my own I guess like seeds planted and stuff, but I just didn't know at the time, I guess. So,
Right.
and but yeah, so but I'll just start like Ron Paul would talk about about the Fed and everything, and then he would talk about, now at the time I was like, I was really into like all of, like of the wars and everything. And then so, but then he started to explain the wars in a way that I never, like thought about.
Right.
And I'm just like, and then at that point, it's just like, why are we there?
Hmm.
So, because all of the stuff that I've been told on the news is all a lie. So, and so from there, and then it kind of just it I was just lost in that
Right.
point. And then so I started reading like Rothbard and all of
Hmm.
them, and started getting into that. And I found Tom Woods and stuff like that after. It was just people that Ron Paul would name, and
Hmm.
then I'll go look those names up after. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and so like anytime he would mention some book or something, I would go buy that book, or I would get a book that he wrote. So because I have some Ron Paul books too. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, so from there, I got, and so I was just starting to go to college at that point. And so they had this students for Ron Paul group
Hmm.
out there, and I was just like, man, like I'm a go join, because I'm like, wait, like it's not just me. Well, then students for Ron Paul turn into Yao. So and then um um uh yeah, so it turned
Yeah.
into Yao.
That's yeah.
Americans for Liberty.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so I had founded a chapter in my school, and we were actually able to get Ron Paul to speak at our school.
Wow.
So I met him that year too, and I had him sign my book and everything, and I was like, and 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 yeah, so I was doing like a lot of stuff with Yao after, and one of the big things going on at the time, which is even bigger than ever now, was free speech.
Hmm.
because even back then, free speech on, colleges was being stifled. So we kind of made that like our main thing.
Mm.
And so like, we would do like the whole um uh, um free speech wall and stuff like that. And and I mean, you would have people writing like cops are, pigs and stuff like that on
Yeah.
it. And the things that what was actually kind of cool is that the cops at the school came and said that is their right
Mm.
to um to do that. They may not like what he said, but the things that they can't use force on him just for saying that. So
Right.
so yeah, so that was like a really big hit at the school, and it definitely brought some change over there. So well, but that change didn't come until long after I was gone.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah. So and like one of the things we did, we had a civil liberties a great graveyard
Mm.
too. So it'd be like freedom of speech, rest in peace, and stuff like that. And uh, yeah, like so or like states rights, rest in peace, whatever. So and just like fun things like that. We would get speakers too to come and speak, about di- different things. And so so I went like really hard on that for some time. And then after I had left school, um I kind of took a little break from all of that because I was just kind of just burnt out on it.
Right.
So yeah, but I would say over time, my libertarianism and my faith over time have kind of started to mesh like that, like
And
to where I have a not just a view about something, but an entire worldview
mm.
that culminates everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
and
I totally get that because that's how I feel like mine is too. Because I started
yeah,
out my first kind of liberty thing. Like
yeah,
I became a Republican because I became a
sure,
Christian. Um,
yeah,
and so, but like I remember when Ron Paul, I think it was when Obama first won his first time he won.
yeah, yeah,
And they asked Ron Paul a question, and this is the question that really made me start thinking. They asked him a question about drugs, and they were like, "Do you want to legalize drugs?" And he was like, or something like that. And he was like, I don't need, the government to tell me that drugs are bad. Like, I don't need the government to regulate me to do that. And that just made me think, like, man, like if everyone just kind of, uh, you know, like all like because all the good people are gonna self-regulate. Like, not everybody's not gonna go
hmm
out and start smoking crack
right,
cocaine because it's legal now.
right,
All the people who are
hmm
already smoking crack cocaine are going to be smoking
right,
crack cocaine.
right,
Only now they're not
hmm
going to be put in jails where they're just going to get further and further into abuse, drug abuse, and
sure,
addiction and
yep,
things like that because
hmm
that's statistically, um, well, statistically, that's what happens is they go to jail and they just get more and more
yeah,
into the drugs. And so
sure,
Nancy Pelosi, that's what we
absolutely,
were talking about.
yeah,
I recently wrote an article about Nancy Pelosi and her comments
hmm
about the Temple of Democracy. I actually want to play the clip really quick. So give me
sure,
1 second and let me pull that up real quick.
yes, sir,
The Constitution and to the American people. On Sunday, it was my great honor to be sworn in as Speaker and to preside over a sacred ritual of renewal as we gathered under this dome of this temple of democracy to open the 117th Congress. I said that as we were sworn in then, we accept a responsibility as daunting and demanding as any previous generation of leadership has ever faced. We know that we're in difficult times, but little could we have imagined the assault that was made on our democracy today. To those who strove to deter us from our responsibility, you have failed. To those who engaged in the gleeful desecration of this, our temple of democracy, American democracy, justice will be done.
All right, man. I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear that at all?
No,
Oh.
but I mean, but I've seen it though. So
yeah. So because it's the clip where she says it, and she actually says it twice.
yeah.
And she's our temple of democracy, and then she says those who want to desecrate our temple of democracy, and
religious use of words.
A very religious use of words, and for me, apparently it's very disturbing to me because it has that religious context. Now, when we were talking pre-show, you said something about maybe it was a Freudian slip and maybe it was subconscious.
Yes.
Do you still do you think that she said that subconsciously?
I think maybe the first time she did, and then she's like, "Oh wait, that really is what I think. I'm gonna say it again." And yeah, I mean, I still think it could be so. But I still think that it still speaks to the truth of what we're actually dealing with here. So,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I don't think it's subconscious because she wrote it down because she's reading from a speech. So
Really?
So she,
okay.
she's reading from a speech.
We'll see. I didn't know that part of it. So
Yeah.
I thought she was just like airing it out, and so
yeah. No. Yeah. She's reading it from.
But that makes sense though. So
Yeah. And
makes sense.
I was talking to somebody about the article that I wrote, and they were telling me that they wish I would have shown more instances instead of just kind of attacking her. And I think that's a fair statement. But like the reason I'm attacking just her is because she's the one I saw saying it.
Yeah.
Now, I do think it's important, and I might revisit this idea as well later on down the road, and see just how many times something similar is said from other representatives about temple of democracy, sacred duty, things like that. Because I think that religious tone, that religious talk, for me, it's this. These things should not be equated or discussed in relation to public service. I don't know how you feel about that.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that, or
like one of the things in my article that I wrote. Hold on a second here. Pull it back up here. So one of the points that I made in my article is that go to the website. Let me see it. Visit the site. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Let's see. One of the points that I make is that the duty that they do, it's not in service of like some god, because I mean, if you look at a temple, so temples are built to service a god. And so the people that are in it that are doing a duty to connect the people with that God. But their duties, their democratic duties, are for each other, for us,
Right.
And so I don't like. I just when I hear the word sacred, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that gives me a religious connotation, and that makes me think of a God, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes me think that these things are um, holy and separate as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, like, I don't think at maybe, at first it wasn't meant to be that way, but I think it's turned that way
Mhm.
over time. Because if you look at the whole justice
Mhm.
movement, it is a sort of a gospel unto itself,
Yeah.
and it seems like it's more morphing into a faith of its own, and it has a lot um um of the traits in the themes of a faith, right?
Mhm.
So like the whole a white privilege thing is, akin to the sin that we are born with, right,
Mhm.
at birth, and so um and so then we have to get cleansed of that sin, right? I
Yeah.
mean, does all this sound, like is this, ringing bells? And I started catching on to this like a couple years ago. Like, it kind of started with the whole climate change movement.
Yeah.
Like to me, that started to get more of a religious zeal to it, because
Mhm.
they were talking about, how the world is going to end soon and all this stuff,
Yeah.
you know and we, hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
So uh and so I'm just like, I'm seeing like these, like, it's kind of like, like par, parallel almost, and made me think that maybe they're not so different
Mhm.
af, af, after all, and and so I've been thinking on this for, some time, um and so and I think that maybe it's always been that way, and
Mhm.
we just maybe we just been blinded by our own age, in the
Hmm.
sense that the modern age that we live in, like, we live in this like post modern world where we're supposed to be past all those things, right?
Yeah.
um but it seems like we're just uh we are packaging it into just something else. And I just think that maybe like that that's how it's always been, because because um if you believe in the faith and you believe in the word, that we that God made us to worship, right?
Mhm.
So it's in our very uh fiber of, being,
Right.
that we do this act of high, highest worth. And so if God made us that way, and if we turn away from God, we're going to worship something else, and it's not going to be the thing that God wants us to do. So and the thing is that, if you, read, throughout the word of God, like, like, it's always the Jews, fighting this, pagan power of some
Mhm.
kind, that is, demonizing them and taking their rights away, but the estate in their pagan ways are morphed into one. And so I started to think about it over time. And one thing that I heard somewhere, I don't recall where, but it made sense to me that the reason why that the Romans went after the Christians was not just the fact that they had worship something else.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really care about that that much. Well, they did care some, but what they were concerned about is that if they didn't worship their gods, it was a threat to the health of the state.
Mm.
and and so I don't recall where I heard that from, but it
Yeah.
made sense that the thing is that they thought that all of this just comes crumbling down everything that we've done, everything that we built, if we turn away from this.
Right.
And yeah.
Well,
So
I think it's because the Christian gospel, as far as if we look at the Romans and Christianity, the Romans, Caesar was God. Caesar was the son of
Right.
God.
Right.
And so here you have the Christians, and they're saying, no, Jesus is the son of God, and don't worry about that kingdom. Don't sure, pay your taxes, whatever, but give everything else to God. Give everything else to Jesus.
Right.
So that was in contention with their own structure, but it was also against the structure of the religious elites in the Jewish sect. But I think kind of what you're talking about is just that intersection of religion and the state is kind of where you see the corruption happen within religion.
Right.
However, I think that just like the Romans are, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to point out, is like, look at the Romans. The Romans worshipped their government, and they worshipped the people who founded and built their government up. And look at their temples, look at the way that everything is built, and then look at America now, and America almost emulates Rome and Greece, because we have these statues of not only like our founding fathers and things like that, but also
but they are but they are also godlike in some way, right?
Oh yeah.
So right. I mean like whether it's right or wrong, I mean like George Washington is a idol of some kind.
Yeah,
and
he's on our dollar. He's on our quarter. He's on the Mount. He's on Mount Rushmore.
Like, I mean, there's everything is like named after him, and, right? So, but but there's like, it's almost like a creation myth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like how we because like how we always talk about how crucial it is that we get our history right, the story that we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so we have these and I don't say this like in a bad way, but we have these myths that we tell ourselves that give us meaning in our life. And so and
I've never thought about American history that way. But when you were talking about creation myths,
right?
Because I mean, what's America's great creation myth and its actual history? But like that our country was founded on this war, and that you had the blood of the you had the blood of the martyrs, build
Right.
up this country because they
Yeah.
martyred themselves for freedom, for
Right.
democracy. And I feel like that's actually perpetuated in every war. We think of every war in light of the American Revolution, and that
Right.
every
Right.
war that
Yeah.
happens is us retelling our creation myth. And
Right.
I've never thought of it that way, but it talks to what I was
Hmm.
talking about in the article about, if we are making a sacrifice to the altar of democracy, what is that? It's our soldiers. Every
Yeah.
day we send our soldiers out for the name of freedom, and it reminded me of this
Yeah.
Rene Girard quote.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
And he said, this is in his book, I See Satan Fall Like Lightning. He says,
Mhm.
we thus understand why those offering sacrifice almost universally saw their sacrifice as an awesome act. They realized that the only good violence, the violence that ends violence rather than intensifies it, is unanimous violence. And what he's talking about there is just, we all agree that there's this good violence that's going on and it's taking place,
Hmm.
but it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we do with our soldiers, like day in and day out. We just
Yeah.
send them off so
Right.
that we can perpetuate our creation myth.
Right. And how many times are you going to come across that in the scriptures and all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, um, about all these people being, killed in the name of their God. They were, all offered up and everything, and so. Yeah, but one thing that I had wanted to, point out is that, we were saying about how, our myth was that, how our country born out of this war.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that going back to, Genesis, part of the reason why it was written was that it was to combat all of the different pagan ones,
Mm-hmm.
how like Marduk, different ones like that. The common theme through all of the pagan ones was that they were born out of violence. That
Mm-hmm.
the earth and that life birthed out of some kind of act of violence.
Yeah, that's it.
Whereas in the Christian faith,
Mm-hmm.
it was through an act of speech. It was through peace. It was through order
Yeah.
that our world and our lives were made. And so the thing is that when you think about our story being born out of violence, and how, like Rome, with Romulus and all, born out of
Mm-hmm.
violence. It it's that same path going on throughout the entire time, and all these nations fall at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's worthy to note and worthy to think about.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Cain and Abel, but
yeah, sure.
Rene
Yep.
Girard talks a lot about what you're talking about now, which is you
Mm-hmm.
have the differences between a lot of myth and Christianity, and that's actually what brought him to Christianity himself, is because he
Sure.
was
Yeah.
studying mythos and he was studying that as
Right.
an atheist, and then he was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to compare the myth, ancient mythology, with the Bible, and in his
Mm-hmm.
comparison, he came to Catholicism. There he came back to
Yeah.
Catholicism.
Right.
And
Sure.
he talks a lot about that in his book, I See Satan Fall Like Lightning. I actually
Mm-hmm.
just got a hold of a copy of the Sacred and Violence, or something like that. I think the Violence and
Yeah.
Sacred. So I
Are
really want to get into that.
his are his works like hard to find, or
No,
or is
no.
okay, cool.
All of them are on Amazon. But I
Okay,
actually the Sacred and
yeah.
the Sacred and Violence, I found a PDF of it online somewhere.
Oh, huh.
um,
Yeah,
but if you want, I can share that with you, maybe.
yeah, sure, yeah, sure, yeah.
um, but in I See Satan Fall Like Lightning,
Hmm.
he talks about Cain, and he talks about the founding of because Cain, right after he kills Abel and all of that happens, then he goes off and he founds his own city,
Right, yeah,
and so like even that, but even that in the Bible itself is a
right,
commentary on how civilizations are built on violence.
yes, right, and it's strange. So in the Gnostic days
Mm.
of the early church, there was this. Well, I mean the Gnostics were, fringe already, but they had an even more fringe group, the who were followers of Cain, and
Yeah,
um and and they had, you know they had saw Cain as like victim, I guess, and but it speaks to sacrificial, violence,
mm-hmm.
and it's a really good point that even the first city founded in the world had its own, myth of being born out of violence, and I think that was put there, to contrast with God
Mm-hmm.
about how He founded everything through an act of speech,
Right.
and and so and so and when the scriptures talk about, about how man has dominion over all of the creatures, it's because being made in His image and in a likeness, we have speech too.
Right.
So, and
And dominion. Yeah, we have dominion.
right, and
I think the thing that through us talking here, it's kind of getting me to realize that it's not
yeah,
just a deification of the government or a
right,
deification of democracy, but it's also that in that deification of this system that we have, we
mm-hmm.
find the violent the violence that has built the system and that the
Right,
system is perpetuated on and founded on,
mm-hmm.
is seen as this ultimate good. And I think that's the problem, is because
Yep,
you have the representatives who see themselves as, if they see the Capitol building as a temple and the
right,
acts that they do as sacred, then
right,
they have to, if by that logic, they have to see themselves as priests who take on the holy convocations for the rest of the people, for the
sure,
congregation,
mm-hmm.
and so they go in and they enact these bills, and Congress is the one who's supposed to
Right,
to
mm-hmm.
enact war, and we've been in Iraq for over 20 years,
Right,
shedding blood. And then now Biden, you have Trump, who actually did a good thing, and he brought troops out of the Middle East, or at least
yeah,
was starting to.
mm-hmm.
But then
Yeah,
Biden goes and he turns around and he sends more troops back in to Iran.
mm-hmm.
For what are you going back in
Yep,
Iran for? And so you're
mm-hmm.
shedding all this blood, and it's not even the blood of the soldiers who see themselves as, I'm sacrificing my life for freedom in
Mm-hmm.
Iran.
Right,
you know but it's also
right,
those people in Iran, the innocent people who get bombed,
right,
and who get killed, and everything like that.
right,
And everybody wants to talk about, well, how violent they are toward us. It's like, well, you're invading their land.
mm-hmm.
How do you expect them to act? But
Right,
that's kind of the danger of the deification of government and the government system that we live on, is you see all these violent acts that we go and perpetuate out into the world as, well,
right,
this is all for the This is all for the greater good.
Yes. Yeah, and going back to what you said about about it being a sort of temple. Now, a temple has a altar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that used for? As a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are they sacrificing?
Mm-hmm.
And you had brought up our soldiers overseas,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also doing it to our wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our rights, right? Everything that we own. We are the scapegoats for
Mm-hmm.
their power, right?
Yeah.
So and to me, um, I mean, it seems like to me that in the drama of nature, it always plays out that way. Now, of course, now if you were to ask them, do you see yourself as a priest? They'd be like, huh, what, right?
Yeah.
So, but in how it actually plays out, that's what they do.
Right.
Um, I think we're so so that's why I was saying to you, er, 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 earlier was that we're dealing with something much bigger here than just some bad guys and all office or whatever, or we just need to change some laws or whatever. The root of the problem itself is extremely deep and it's dark,
Yeah.
and it's causing all this pain, this terror in the world. I think uh, I know for me that 2020 was a real wake up call, because it was really bad before that,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of like, well, this thing might be true, but we just don't have like any full proof of it. Like, all of the gloves came off in
Mm-hmm.
2020, and everybody picked their side, and so to me, these state and big tech and the corporate press and academia, they are just different branches of the same tree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see a di- difference between them,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that, oh well, like this a big tech is a private company and all that. To me, I don't see them any different than that. Now, they might be so, in a legal sense, but look how they act, right?
Yeah.
They act as if they're part of the state,
Well,
right?
they're also,
And
I mean, like you have a lot of these companies, though, like Facebook owns, I think they own Facebook, Instagram. I think they own,
Graham,
do they own Twitter or no?
no,
Okay. But even Twitter,
right,
all three of
right.
those companies that I just named are all subsidized by the United States government.
Oh yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
So in effect, they are a part of the government, because if the government says, "Hey,
Yeah,
look,
sure.
you need to censor those people," there, or we'll remove your subsidies. What do you think?
Right,
What do you think Zuckerberg's going to do? He's probably
right.
taking down this video right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the thing is that I don't know if they have that conversation or not.
Hmm.
I honestly don't know, but it seems like they want to win favor with them
Yeah.
at the least, so they act out on the things that they do. I mean, When Twitter suppressed that Hunter Biden story and all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was just clear as day that they were trying to bury that story so that Joe Biden can, win and all, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
This is one
so
thing, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is one thing
yeah,
I'm
no, that's
like
fine.
going down this vein of the election.
Yeah.
So from what I understand
Mm-hmm.
of the Hillary Trump election was that
Mm-hmm.
Trump had to be investigated for the entirety of the 4 years he was in office because because he colluded with Russians so that they could infiltrate social media with fake news, and that was like the big story. That was like the big thing about the election.
Right.
So
They,
now, so then we have we have people who believe that the election was actually physically tampered with,
mm-hmm.
and yet we did not continue an investigation with that because, well, our
Right.
sources say that didn't happen. Well,
Right.
other sources said that like Trump didn't have anything to do with Russia, but yet we sat
Yeah.
there. We had the FBI investigate for 4 years. That just bothers me there.
Oh yeah, I mean, even if they didn't actually find anything wrong, I mean, it's still his right to say, "Hey, we should, take a look and see." And a really big it issue with that was that the courts basically coward,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that they couldn't hear the case, but they didn't want to get caught up in it. They were playing politics too.
Yeah.
So so um and so that was just, I mean, to me, as someone who has worked in the elite legal field, I mean, like, I was, pretty, saddened by that, and they shouldn't have, done that. They should have at least said, let's just hear what you have, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it was fair game that they had looked into Trump, right? Now, of course, it wasn't fair that they had looked into him for his whole time there.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just like, hey, there's this little thing going on here. Let's just see. I mean, that's fair, um and so yeah, it was just I mean, to me, that was just part of the theme of uh of last year, that this whole thing is just rigged, and and there's a deeper, darker force at work, and
Right.
and um and I mean, it's I mean, I don't know where things are going to go from here. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah. And I get that. I had a train of thought that I was going on, but I forgot it with the whole Trump Russian collusion thing. It threw me off.
Yeah.
But basically, it basically just kind of goes back to the point is that when you
Mhm.
kind of deify and make
Mhm.
sacred the acts that you do and the thing that you're doing as a public
Yeah.
service, and I don't think it's wrong to humble yourself and say what I'm doing is for
Right.
the good of the people. Like it's
Right.
not, it's
Yeah.
okay to do that, but to say but
Right.
to deify it in a manner that's saying, well, we are in service of democracy, and
Mhm.
this building is a temple to that deity. I think
Mhm.
that's where things start to get misconstrued, and then what happens is you start looking at every act that you do as, well,
Right.
I am a holy servant to this system, and I just
Mhm.
think that's that's a path
Yeah.
that we shouldn't. It's a path that like it should send up red flags. It should send.
Right.
It should make us all do like a solid snake and like we should all
Yeah.
see it as
Yeah.
something wrong.
Right. And yeah. And this quote comes to mind from that the quote goes something like, when when you take God out, the go, 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 government then becomes God.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I think this is a result of the aggressive movement.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good book. I don't know if you read it. It's illiberal formers by Thomas Leonard, and that's a really good book to read, and it explains how this movement, like the whole social justice thing is
Mm-hmm.
kind of new, but its roots are not new.
Right.
And it goes into how the how this movement actually started out with Christian ministers.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, I
and
mean, the whole
so
abolitionist movement was, started by Christian ministers. The
right,
big parts of the movement, and
yeah,
I think like
yeah,
that's one thing I want to articulate is that there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with social justice. There's nothing wrong with social justice. It's when
right,
you
yeah,
take social justice too far, to where
yeah,
it's not you're not fighting for freedom, but what you're fighting
right,
for is that people make you feel good about the choices that you're making.
right, yeah, and I think like social justice now kind of means something
Different.
different than it did back then. So
Yeah.
and yeah, so um yeah, so it's just yeah, but that is a really good book to read,
I'll check it out. You
and
said is it liberal reformers or
I'm a ill
illiberal reformer?
liberal.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So and
I'll check that out. I'll check that
yeah,
out. So we've got a couple more minutes here. We'll
sure.
take 5 minutes, and if anybody wants to ask any questions, right now we've just got a couple of comments. One of them is from my sister.
Okay.
She's watching, and she's talking about my niece is
Yeah,
studying like the founding fathers and the Revolution, and she's finding
yeah,
that the Libertarian Party is actually more aligned with like our founding fathers.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I mean, it's all about freedom. It's all about and that's the thing
yeah.
I try to get people to understand is like a lot of laws, especially now, a lot of the laws that are on the books now are less about freedom and more about just control, and,
Right.
control and I mean like look at the stimulus, that's
Sure.
I mean that's legislation, which
Hmm.
legislation is a law, and a lot of that was really just to line the pockets of other countries, not America. I mean, they only gave us like,
Right.
and not that I'm like, hey, I need a stimulus check. I would
Right.
rather it be where I have enough money where I don't have to have a stimulus check, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But I mean, still, like if you're going to give money out, you're spending trillions and trillions of dollars. If you're giving everybody $1,200, you haven't even scratched the surface of trillion.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's see. Then we have Rocky, my buddy of mine, Rocky Clark. He said they work for us. It's the house of we the people. They're delusional. Again, I don't like what you're saying. Some of them probably are just they don't think of themselves as priests or gods or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But the actions that they take, they have seen themselves as like, well, I'm doing this holy and sacred act.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you were to explain it to them like that, they'd be like, "Oh, well, maybe I do look at myself a little too highly
Right.
and place myself on a pedestal."
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just more comments.
Yeah.
She said, my sister said, I really believe it was not in direct reference to religion. I think she was trying to reference the original ideas that Jefferson had in mind for the architecture of the Capitol, which he wanted it to be like an American pantheon. But I mean, the American pantheon,
Right, sure.
or the pantheon, the Greek pantheon, was for the pantheon of the gods.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it was
Right.
for, like, we have a multitude
Right.
of gods, so we want one place where they can all, you know, we can all worship our gods in one place. That's what a
Right.
pantheon is.
hmm Yeah. Right. Yeah. hmm
So what gods are we, you know, what gods are we worshiping in this
hmm
American pantheon? You know,
Yep.
we know that one is the democratic, you know, democracy.
Yeah,
is
they definitely hold that up as their god. So um so um and 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 the things that they don't even follow through on it too. It's just like whatever that they think is right that day. That's what they call it. So and
right. Yeah, there's just
and
there's so many
yeah.
contradictions and stuff out there, man.
Oh
All
yeah.
right, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. If you want to stick
Yeah, sure.
around for a little bit after we're
Yeah.
wrapped up and everything like that, and we'll kind of
Yeah,
do like an
sure.
after show banter and all that
Yeah, sure,
jazz.
sure. Yeah.
All right, man. So
No, it's been really fun, and I would love to, come back
yeah,
and we can kind of hash this out even more. So,
yeah, and you can keep trying to
um,
convert me into Catholicism.
one day.
One day.
Well, the thing is, like, I will like see like post things. I'm like, wait,
Wait,
is
is
he
he a
like?
Catholic?
So,
when you see me post something about transubstantiation, then you know.
yeah, right, yeah.
If there's any that's probably my biggest hurdle. That's probably my
Really?
biggest one. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we'll talk about
Oh,
that. We'll talk about
oh
that
yeah,
another day.
yeah,
All
sure.
right, Devin, I appreciate it, man. Um, yeah, man. Just stick around for a couple minutes. All right. All right, everybody. I want to just again say thank you to Devin for coming on to my show. I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. You can rewatch it on YouTube. You can watch the stream on my YouTube page. My link is in the bio, or you can listen to this. The audio is going to be available on podcast form on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. I think I'm on Stitcher and a couple other ones too. And I hope to see you guys next time as we explore more Matt News.